Apparently the property for it was purchased about 15 years ago. They had the plans then. And this is an 1840 building right there. It's getting a new porch. That was and this is 1890, Queen Anne with the witch's cap. And this is a wonderful Gothic revival 1880s building. And the corner is the beautiful, wonderful restaurant, the Washington Inn. The back part of it, a little part of it, dates to 1845. And this is our Southern Mansion. The original building was built in 1863, the middle of the Civil War. The cupola was a means of Victorian air conditioning. There were 12 bedrooms in that building. It was built by a competitor of John Wanamaker out of Philadelphia, George Allen. And the building at the rear here of the driveway there was 12 bedrooms and no indoor plumbing. So the little yellow building with the red roof and the cupola was a two-seater, ladies and gentlemen. They say it was the envy of the entire neighborhood, side by each. Sorry. Okay, and over here on the door side, the pale blue building. Look at the room that comes out over the driveway, up on the stilts. That's how they added the bathrooms in the late 1870s. They would punch a hole through the bedroom wall, add the bathroom up on the stilts, and then everybody knew you had one. And the advertising slogan of the day was, so that Grandma, she wouldn't have to walk to the backyard anymore. Now she could trade her path for the bath. And coming up on the door side, the beautiful mainstay inn, it was a gambling casino. Built in 1872, and a proper lady was only permitted to sit on the porch of the building, never to enter it. However, on the first floor, there were female faces seen on the upper floors. Oh, but I can't imagine. imagine that, can you? Let me tell you something about gambling. Gambling was authorized in Cape May in 1851. We had 3 gambling casinos. That was one of them. Shortly afterwards, a little lady came from New York City from New Orleans with her boyfriend to gamble. She won in one of the gambling casinos close to $1 million. So you know what they did right afterwards? They banned women from the casinos. True story. And gambling then was outlawed in Cape May in 1897. Dark grays, greens, beiges, and dark browns. Today, however, in Cape May, you may paint your house any color you wish. Coming up on the door side, the beautiful Shell Pond Hotel, a National Historic Landmark, as is Copper's Hall. This was built in 1876 by a local resident. His name was Henry Sawyer. He was an officer in the Civil War, captured by the South, taken down to a living prison in Virginia. When he arrived at the prison, he got some bad news. His name had been chosen by lottery. He was slated to be executed. But his young wife had found out about it, and she was able to contact a guy by the name of Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was holding a prison of his own, none other than the son of Robert E. Lee, Rooney Lee. They made exchanges, as is the cottage. And coming up to the cottage next to it is a 2-part cottage, because the back part was a standalone colonial dating back to 1849, this blue one coming up. And the front porch, the porch and the bay window were not added to the back portion until 1890. So that's all brand new. But the building next to it is a lovely, it is also a colonial built back in 1849. It was a twin, this one right here, the white one, of the back portion of this blue one. The Cherry House, built in 1849. Now remember, the Victorians invented the front porch. They had to have some place, you have to be careful of it. They had to have some place where they could entertain, because you were never ever permitted to speak to anybody unless you had been formally introduced. And then you couldn't call them by their first name unless you went to grade school. True story. Good old Victoria. Okay, coming up, the gray building. Rooftop and building dating back to 1866. Original slate mansard roof. Wow. And coming up next to it, you'll see a white one coming up past the window building. 1838 by a ship's captain. He had a young wife he had to leave home alone for long periods of time. And she had a diary, and in her diary she wrote how afraid she was to walk out into the streets of Cape May because of all the Indians and the pirates that were roaming the area. True story. We have that diary in our colonial house today. Okay, we're crossing our main street. It's called Ocean Street.